Scary Movie was the first scary movie that I saw. Now, many will argue, probably myself included, that this isn't actually a horror movie. But it does get quite intense at times. So for me, when I watched it, probably when I was, I don't know, 12 or 13, I was pretty intimidated and pretty scared. My first experience of Ghostface, absolutely terrifying. I decided to watch this week to see how I felt about it now that I am 15 or so years older. And I can say that I still think it holds up, but there are aspects of it that I think maybe don't appeal to me so much anymore. So if you aren't aware of Scary Movie, this is a film that was released in 2000. It's the first of a series now. It's directed by Keenen Ivory Wayans, and it's a parody of horror films. And one of the most iconic is the parody of Scream. And the other films it parodies, I have a list of them here from IMDb. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, also apparently Scream 2. I have seen the first few Scream films, but I can't really differentiate between them apart from the opening scene. The Sixth Sense, which is a very tiny reference. Blair Witch Project, which I missed. I didn't see that one. The Shining, again, tiny reference. The Matrix, I didn't pick that up. And the Usual Suspects, which I haven't seen. But the main parody there is Scream. And this is obviously a comedy. So there are two aspects that I want from this. Am I going to laugh? And do I think the parodies are good? I will say that, first of all, the opening scene, when we have the iconic parody of Scream when she's on the phone and she's doing popcorn, that is parodied very, very well. And just when things are about to get quite scary, it flips and it's very entertaining and very funny. Throughout the rest of the film, I don't think it's a good parody of the horror genre in general. It's a good parody of Scream. There is a particular moment, I can't really spoil it, I will not spoil anything, but there's a particular moment where somebody gets, brutally attacked. There is obviously a lot of violence in this and bloodshed and people do get stabbed. Where they get, probably I'd say the most brutal attack, and it just keeps going. And I thought that was very clever and very witty. And you could read a lot into that. But I would have liked to have seen more horror movie parodies. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have seen all of the others, and I'm pretty sure at least the third one parodies multiple films, not just one, in more detail. So in terms of the narrative, it does pretty much just parody Scream with these teenagers at school. There's a lot of similarities. If you haven't seen Scream, will you find it funny? That's a good question that I asked myself. I think you probably will still enjoy it, but I think there will be elements that just don't really relate as much. So if you haven't seen Scream, I'd say definitely watch it before watching this. But then that begs the question, do you have to be a fan of horrors to watch this? I'd say you have to have at least some kind of strong stomach for horrors. Because, as I said, there are moments where this gets a little bit intense, and where if you're not used to any kind of scary film, it may make you jump a little bit. But it's not by any stretch a scary film in itself, hence the parody. It also heavily parodies I Know What You Did Last Summer, but that's a film I haven't seen in a very long time, and I think there were a lot of references that I didn't pick up on. So the narrative, very interesting, particularly if you've seen Scream. The level of horror, I think, is pretty perfect, actually. I liked just how scary it was. It worked very well. The humor is very sexualized. There's a lot of sexual references in this. And I think this makes this film work well as a teen horror. I'm not sure what the certificate is. I actually feel like it could be an 18. It might be a 15. But I feel like it's definitely a secondary school, college kind of film. The cast is brilliant. Anna Faris as Cindy Campbell is great. This was probably my first Anna Faris film, I think. And there's nobody in this who I kind of thought didn't, didn't deliver a really good performance. Often a very over the top performance, which works very, very well. Also, I completely forgot about Doofy. People at school used to mimic Doofy, and I never knew what that was. And then watching it this time, it gave me a lot of flashbacks to what a lot of the boys in my school used to go around saying. It was quite bizarre. Doofy is a parody in himself. The whole film is good fun. It's not flawless, but I think it was a very innovative film for the time. And I think if it had to choose one or two films to parody, I think Scream was a very good, very effective choice. Ghostface is a very effective horror character. I do still enjoy it. I think a lot of the things that make it entertaining are the sexualized references and silly remarks. They are not the things that I enjoy about it. I guess I enjoy the parodic element, the visual parodic elements, but the kind of teenage humor is what makes it still stand. I think if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But as I said, just maybe bear in mind that you probably do need to like horror at least a little bit to enjoy the parody.